Hey everyone, this video is coming from Shizuoka in Shimada or Ieyasu. I'm actually not sure which one we're in. The name of the train station is Ieyasu, but everything has Shimada Cho written on it, so I'm just going to use the two interchangeably and assume that works. But for Silver Week, which is a string of 3 holidays, 3 days off in a row, Rebecca and I decided to take a vacation to Shizuoka, take some time to explore a bit of the countryside. On the way here, we went to Nagoya, which was an adventure in of itself. We came here by car, by the way, not by train, which would be a bunch more convenient. But we went by car, so we could have a little bit more freedom about where to go around here. So we found this place on Airbnb. It's a privately owned, naturally, a privately owned house by one Osamu Kurosawa. Not the Seven Samurai Kurosawa. Looks a lot like him. Not the Seven Samurai Kurosawa. Anyways, he is a retired lecturer. He lives in Shizuoka City proper. This is about an hour, 30-40 minutes away from Shizuoka City by train, or by car even. But he used to specialize in the life of Tokugawa Ieyasu. He grew up in a temple that was 600 years old. And what he told us last night during his dinner was that when he was a kid, he would read these komonjo, which is, I'll show you in just a moment, they're like scrolls that were written by monks or given to temples by other monks from other temples, but it was written in kanbun, so kanji. And his curiosity when he was a kid was, he asked people if they could read them to him, and everyone said no. So he was surprised, and he said, well, if Japanese people can't even read them, there has to be someone that's able to read them and also make it easier for people to understand what it actually means. So he did that when he was in his 20s, and when he was 28, he had his first publication ever. Right now he's in a whole bunch of stuff. Like if you go to the Shizuoka City website, all the little articles on its history page are written by him, and they were they weren't just excerpts taken from his books, but they were fully rewritten for people who are not scholars to understand properly. He's done a whole bunch of other stuff, but for now, what I want to focus on is his house, which is essentially a museum. And there's a lot of interesting things here. So right now we're in the Genkan, but we'll move over into some of the other rooms. When he first bought this is incredibly countryside, by the way. When he first bought this house, it was run down, kind of a piece of crap with holes in the roof and didn't have indoor plumbing and all that. But first off, here's the Genkan where you enter. But if you step up these steps and go into this first room, you have this very, very, very classical style room with a hearth in the middle. This area right here last night is where we had like toriniku and oh man, well I guess gyuniku is just beef and chicken, but we barbecued beef and chicken over this hearth with coal that he makes himself from these logs, and he stores it in one of the storage areas by the kitchen. However, you can see he was telling us that this sort of setup was, here's just some of the other stuff while I'm talking, this sort of setup was really common in older generations, but now it's just, people used to sit around this square in these kind of seats. But now, thanks to what have you, technology, modern tendencies, what have you, it doesn't really happen that often. But here is, if you look on the walls here, earlier I mentioned komonjo. Oh, that's not it. Here we go. This sort of stuff. Komonjo. Even I think a lot of people who have been in Japan for a while can't read some of these scrolls. They're written in incredibly difficult to read fashion. Shodo, the kind of art of writing kanji. Over here though, he has collected masks from all over. These are mainly Japanese ones. So we'll take a look. You have your blue oni. Yes. And the red oni. This one is particularly terrifying. This guy over here. And this one, which is particularly old. I feel like this is one that's used in a very famous play during the Genpei War, but I cannot for the life of me remember. As I said, he studied Tokugawa Ieyasu, and Tokugawa's symbol You can barely see it here, but it's a clover. This was said to be given to him when he prayed at a certain shrine. Here, it's a little bit difficult to see, so bear with me. This is a Mexican Aztec mask, which he bought for a considerable amount of money when he lived in Mexico for a little while. Here, the one with the long nose, this is actually a Japanese Tengu mask. Very, very, very cool. And here, this one is in some kind of African mask, whether it's used in rituals, I'm not completely sure, and the one next to it as well. Again, sorry, it's a little dim, but there you go. And then over here we have masks from India, which actually look surprisingly similar to masks from Japan. So I'll have to ask more about that. And there's something, oh, this is really interesting, but we'll get to that last. And here we have another room, sort of the connector room. This is brilliant. His friend carved this statue for him. And in the back we have a lovely picture of Marilyn Monroe, which is there to remind him to, as you can imagine, fight the powers of temptation and not give in to, how you might say, earthly tendencies. But very, very beautiful and very cool. Over here, this is, again, particularly interesting. I'm probably using that phrase a bit too much. Wonder if there's a light here. I think there is. One moment. No? No? No light. No? Okay. Okay. Maybe not. Hold on. We think we can do this. If we just figure out how to turn the lights on. Alright. Well, in here there's a whole bunch of other little artifacts. Again, his house is a museum. So these pots, as well as this back here, this is an old pot used for storing sake. That is 400 years old. Just sitting in his private collection. And then, more interestingly, oh, actually over here, it's really difficult to see. I wish I could turn on the lights or something. Perhaps this is it. Oh, that's just the lantern down there. That's also very cool, though. Perhaps that light will work for now. Oh, I think I found it. 1 second. Nope, just gonna do that, huh? I see how it is. Alrighty. Well, lights are hopeless. However, this suit on the side, a little bit difficult to see. This is something that a lower class samurai would have worn, also about 200 years old, just sitting in his thing. And if you look in the inside, let's try and take a look. It's a little bit difficult to get to. We asked him permission to be able to touch this and show this, so don't worry. Ah, it's really hard to see, huh? Man, maybe if I just come in and get around one moment. There we go. There you are. You can see there are some embroidered symbols on the inside. There we go, perfect. Very, very thick, too. Very, very thick woven cotton. And it's got just a little space right here for your eyes to pop out. However, the most interesting thing in this particular collection, I think, is on this side. These right here. So these are from the Edo period. And this is what firefighters wore, right? So you'd put this on, and it's really thick, again, very thickly woven cotton. But you'd put this on and you'd pour water over yourself, and the idea was that this kind of material would absorb it, and then you'd jump into the fire. You'd just dive right into it. And once it dried up, you'd reapply it. So it's a little terrifying. But he has a whole set of them, in fact. Very, very interesting. And, oh, if we step out of the exhibit here for just a moment and look at this. I have a very, very, very old painting from India he got during his journeys there, and in inquiries with several, and I mean several, museums in just about every university you can think of as well. It's a completely splendid house. But the most interesting part of all is up here. You can hardly see it, but this, let me try and get you a better thing here. This is the original placard used to inscribe the, what would you call it? Oh, it actually says right here. Here you go. So, this was from 1682, and this was the edict that outlawed Christianity in Japan. It is, let's see, 1682, so it's 333 years old. And it's just sitting in his front room. I can't believe it. But yes, for a time, the Japanese were a closed-off country, and they enjoyed the company of exclusively the Dutch. The Portuguese were a little too cocky with their missionaries, and they were way too persistent with converting people, and after a slight uprising, when the government had a little bit of a backlash to officially recognizing Christianity, they decided that the proper response was to instead slaughter the Christians that were opposing them, and then outlaw not only Christianity, but the Portuguese from trading or entering Japan at all. So from that point on, the only people that were allowed to enter Japan were the Dutch, up until the Meiji period, or after the Meiji period. That is pretty astounding. And then just really quickly, I'll take you on a brief tour of his... Oh, one more thing. Look at this koi fish. It's amazing. Alright, great. If we go in through here, down this hallway. We don't enter here. This is his private room. We pretty much have access to the entire house, but this is the pathway to take to get to the kitchen. And this is the kitchen. Turn on some lights. Pretty outstanding. Yesterday he gave us some boiled chestnuts and figs to have, and we shared some of this delicious cake. Completely redone. Like, this is in the middle of the mountains. I'll show you in a second, actually. Let's get a little peek outside. Oh, you can barely. That's not really capturing the grand scope of things. And of course, like, he speaks pretty outstanding English, too. So he has a cupboard for the guests only, a cupboard for necessary things like toothbrush and cups, that sort of thing, and then ingredients that you are welcome to use as long as you put them away afterward. And then here is a map of where we're staying. And he made this himself, a map of the Ieyasu area. And we are right here. Rebecca and I climbed this temple today, actually. We'll probably show you some pictures about it later. But we climbed all the way up here to this tea farm, which took about an hour and a half, and it was a grueling hike. There's this place called Nomori Pond, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's a giant pond. People practice traditional fishing there with like bamboo, huge stalks of bamboo. This is my favorite of here, though, is when in regards to shopping, place of the shopping is you can't buy beer or liquor from the market. He asks you intentionally, because he wants you to have a good cultural experience, to go to the liquor shop, which has been here for a few hundred years. This town in of itself is fairly modern and was founded back when Japan had its own mini gold rush in this particular area. This river that you can see here, it looks pretty sad, and for a reason. They dammed it off far, far, far up in this direction. And it has since become a kind of weak flowing river. But we're actually going to go to an onsen just north of where this is right here. But it's a very, very great area, and it's only, the village we're staying in is 800 people. So very, very small. Yep. So this is where we eat. Rebecca and I stay up these stairs. So we go up these stairs. This morning we had a bit of a hornet problem. I don't know how it happened. We left the window open for like 5 seconds, and there were like 4 or 5 hornets in the corner now. They have been dealt with. And there are more in here. They are little bastards. Normally I'm okay with letting them live, but this time I couldn't. Oh, and here's a great view of like right behind us, right behind this house, tea orchard. And there's the mountains right there. And then here's the room he has pretty much created. It's really messy, I'm sorry. But also very, very, very cool room. Right out here, you have the balcony where you can sit down, enjoy a few beers. On a hot day, there will be a few spiders sitting out here. Just sitting, hanging out, waiting for a good meal. But this is the view from where we live. Right, like right out the window. This is Ieyasu, completely covered in misty, absolutely gorgeous mountains. Right? And then again, here is the kind of sort of tea. This is green tea that's being harvested right next to our apartment. And if you look in the distance, even more. He really wants to focus on those raindrops. But completely surrounded by mountains, and it's very cool. But our vacation is almost over, and we only have a little bit more time to enjoy our stay in Ieyasu, Shimada-cho, whatever you want to call it. So Rebecca and I are going to pack our things once again, head off in that-ish direction, one of these directions, I think that way where the bridge is, you can barely see it, and go to the onsen, one of the traditional onsen that's been there for a very, very, very long time. Further east of here, there's an area called Izu. Izu has incredibly famous hot springs, natural hot springs, that are visited by thousands of people every single month. Here is less famous, but I mean, the locale is just as beautiful, fewer people, it's quieter, and absolutely great. So, awesome last-minute snap decision to come here and hang out with Kurosawa-san and explore the area around the village. If we have time, we want to show you one of the temples that's also right neighboring this house, called Sankoji. And it's a beautiful hike. It's a really simple place to walk if you only have a little bit of time to do something and you want to see some splendid nature or history. So, but until then, that was our house. Definitely recommend coming here if you're ever in Japan and you want a good countryside experience. Come to Shimada, talk to Mr. Kurosawa on Airbnb. You will not regret a thing. See ya.